Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and fellow dreamer. Life has a funny way of teaching us lessons. We spend so much of our time running after people, trying to hold on to relationships or proving our worth to others. We sometimes forget something incredibly important, that we don't need to chase after validation or affection. We often fall into the trap of thinking that our value is dependent on how much we give, how much we sacrifice, or how much we bend ourselves to fit into someone else's narrative. But here's the truth. You are enough exactly as you are, without needing to constantly prove it. There's power in knowing when to let go. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just step back, allow the space to grow, both for yourself and for others. Let them miss you, not because you want to make them realize your worth, but because you know your own value. When you step back, you give yourself the opportunity to focus on your own growth, your own happiness. You stop seeking approval because you're no longer waiting for anyone to fill the void that only you can fill. And when people realize what they had, what they lost, or how they treated you, that's when they'll miss you, but it won't be about them. It'll be about you knowing that your peace, your journey, your happiness, and your worth were never about their presence. And it was always about your strength to stand tall, even when it wasn't easy. You see, we're all evolving, we're all growing, we're all trying to find our place in this chaotic world. But that doesn't mean you need to shrink yourself just to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. Sometimes stepping away from someone or something is not a sign of weakness, it's an act of self-respect. Let them miss you. Let them wonder how you're doing, how you've managed to thrive without them. But remember, when you let them miss you, you're also teaching yourself how to thrive on your own terms. And when they come back, if they do, make sure it's because they see you for who you are, not for who they want you to be. And if they don't, that's okay too. Because your life, your happiness, and your worth were never dependent on anyone else's presence. Stand in your power. Live in your truth. Be unapologetically you. And trust that when you give yourself the space to grow, you become someone even more beautiful than before. Knowing your worth is one of the most powerful realizations a person can have. It is a deep understanding that your value does not depend on external factors, nor does it need to be earned or proven to anyone. This truth can be life-changing, and yet it is often one of the most overlooked aspects of personal growth. For many of us, our self-worth has been conditioned by the opinions of others, by society's standards, and by the roles we've been taught to play. But the moment we realize that we are inherently valuable just as we are, everything shifts. We live in a world that often ties worth to external accomplishments. How much money you make, how many followers you have, what kind of job title you hold, or even how others perceive you. Society tells us that these markers define our success and, by extension, our value. And we are taught to seek validation from others, whether it's through likes on social media, compliments from friends, or praise from authority figures. But this constant pursuit of external validation can leave us feeling empty and uncertain. When we tie our worth to things that are outside of our control, we place ourselves on a never-ending roller coaster of highs and lows. One moment we feel on top of the world because we've received praise or recognition, and the next we're crushed when someone doesn't acknowledge us or when something doesn't go our way. But true worth, the kind that comes from within, is unshakable. It is not dependent on the opinions or approval of others. It doesn't waver with success or failure. It is grounded in the simple truth that you are enough just as you are. The moment you embrace this, you stop seeking external validation as a measure of your worth. You stop chasing after people's approval and start living for yourself. Recognizing your worth means acknowledging that you are worthy of respect, love, and kindness, not because of what you do or who you know, but because you exist. Your mere presence in this world holds value. It's a fundamental shift in perspective. When you truly understand your worth, you begin to make decisions based on what feels right for you, not based on what others expect or demand from you. This doesn't mean becoming selfish or disregarding others. It means honoring yourself and your needs while still being compassionate and considerate toward those around you. Unfortunately, many people live their entire lives unaware of their own value. They spend years trying to please others, constantly adjusting themselves to fit in, to be liked, or to be accepted. But the truth is, no one can fully accept or appreciate you until you first accept and appreciate yourself. When you recognize your own worth, you stop pretending to be something you're not. You stop shrinking to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. You embrace your uniqueness, your quirks, and your flaws. And when you do that, you radiate a confidence that draws people to you, not because you're seeking their approval, but because you are comfortable in your own skin. In order to truly know your worth, it's important to reflect on your strengths and values. This is not an exercise in ego or arrogance, but in self-awareness. What makes you unique? What are you proud of? What are your talents and passions? What principles guide your life? By taking the time to explore these questions, you begin to see yourself in a new light. Not as someone who needs validation, but as someone who has something valuable to offer to the world, simply by being who they are. It's also crucial to realize that your worth is not tied to your mistakes, your past, or your imperfections. Too often, people allow their past experiences to define them. They may have failed at something or made a poor decision, and they carry that weight with them, believing it somehow diminishes their value. But our mistakes do not diminish our worth. They are simply opportunities for growth. Every mistake is a lesson, and every lesson is a stepping stone toward becoming a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person. Your worth is not measured by your failures, but by your ability to learn, grow, and continue moving forward. Once you recognize your worth, it becomes easier to set boundaries and make choices that align with your true self. When you know what you deserve, you stop tolerating situations, relationships, or behaviors that don't honor you. You stop settling for less than your worth. You begin to understand that your time, energy, and emotions are precious, and you have the right to protect them. Whether it's in a relationship, a friendship, or a work environment, you no longer feel the need to prove yourself or overextend yourself in order to gain approval. You simply choose the path that aligns with your values, your needs, and your sense of self-worth. This doesn't mean that you won't face challenges or that people won't try to undermine your value. In fact, the moment you start embracing your worth, you may encounter resistance from others. Some people might feel threatened by your confidence or try to bring you down because it challenges their own insecurities. But here's the beauty of knowing your worth. When you are secure in who you are, the opinions and actions of others no longer have the power to shake your sense of self. You learn to respond with grace, knowing that their opinions are a reflection of them, not of you. Knowing your worth also means being kind and gentle with yourself. It means giving yourself permission to make mistakes without condemning yourself. It means recognizing that your worth doesn't depend on being perfect. Perfection is a myth, and chasing it only leads to frustration and self-doubt. Embrace your flaws, your imperfections, and your mistakes as part of what makes you human. The path to knowing your worth is not about striving for perfection, but about accepting yourself as you are and learning to love yourself unconditionally. As you begin to understand and embrace your worth, your life transforms. You start to make choices that honor your true self, and you surround yourself with people who uplift and support you. You stop wasting energy on trying to fit into places or relationships where you don't belong. You begin to create space for those who see you for who you truly are, and you learn to let go of the relationships or situations that no longer serve you. But this doesn't mean you should become indifferent to the opinions of others. It's natural to care about the people in your life and to seek meaningful connections. But when you know your worth, You stop allowing anyone to define you, to diminish your light, or to make you feel small. You recognize that your worth is not contingent upon anyone's approval or acceptance. It's inherent. And the more you embrace this truth, the more you attract people and experiences that reflect the respect and love you have for yourself. It's also important to note that knowing your worth doesn't mean you stop growing or improving. It's not about settling for mediocrity or being complacent. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of growth, of success, of happiness, and that your worth isn't contingent upon constantly achieving or proving yourself. You are worthy of love, success, peace, and all the good things life has to offer simply because you exist. When you embrace your worth, you stop living for others and start living for yourself. You become more authentic, more confident, and more resilient. You stop being afraid of failure because you know that it doesn't take away from your value. You start making decisions that reflect your true desires, not your need to please others. You stop trying to live up to someone else's expectations and start defining your own success. To truly know your worth is to free yourself from the need for external validation. It is to live your life authentically, without seeking approval, without needing to fit into someone else's mold. It is to walk through life with the confidence that you are enough, just as you are. And when you reach this point, you begin to see the world through a different lens. One where your value is no longer determined by anyone or anything outside of yourself. And your value is no longer determined by anyone or anything outside of yourself. Embracing self-growth is one of the most empowering steps you can take in your life. It's the process of continually evolving, learning from your experiences, and becoming the best version of yourself. This growth is not just about achieving external success or meeting others' expectations. It's about understanding who you are, what you need, and how you can better navigate the world around you. Self-growth involves taking responsibility for your own development, both mentally and emotionally, and recognizing that you have the power to shape your own life, regardless of the circumstances you face. Self-growth starts with awareness. It begins when you realize that you are not static and that you can actively choose to change, to improve, and to evolve. This realization can be both liberating and daunting. It means accepting that you are not perfect, that there are areas in your life that could be better, and that you have the capacity to make those improvements. But it also means recognizing that you are not defined by your flaws or your mistakes. Growth isn't about being flawless. It's about progress, the small steps forward that lead to significant transformation over time. To embrace self-growth, you first need to be willing to face yourself. This means being honest about your strengths, weaknesses, and everything in between. It's easy to focus on the things you're good at or the aspects of your life that are going well. But true growth comes when you also take an honest look at the areas where you might be struggling or avoiding. Growth requires vulnerability, requires being willing to look at the parts of yourself that you might not want to face, the parts that are uncomfortable or painful. This might mean acknowledging old patterns of behavior that no longer serve you, or confronting fears that have been holding you back for years. But facing these things doesn't mean you're weak or that you're failing. In fact, it's a sign of strength. It takes courage to recognize where you need to improve, and it takes even more courage to take action to change. Self-growth involves an ongoing commitment to being the best version of yourself, which requires constant self-reflection, learning, and adaptation. As you embark on this journey, you begin to realize that growth is not a destination, but rather a lifelong process. It's not about reaching a specific point and saying, I'm done now. It's about continually seeking to evolve, even when things are difficult, even when you make mistakes, and even when the world around you may seem to be standing still. The process of self-growth often involves stepping out of your comfort zone. It requires you to take risks, try new things, and challenge yourself in ways that may feel uncomfortable at first. It's easy to stay in a place where you feel safe, where the familiar comforts you, but true growth happens when you step beyond those boundaries. Whether it's taking on a new project at work, pursuing a new hobby, or facing a fear, pushing yourself to do something different is a crucial part of the self-growth journey. The more you step outside your comfort zone, the more you learn about yourself and what you're capable of achieving. One of the key aspects of self-growth is learning from failure. Far too often, we are conditioned to fear failure. We view it as a negative outcome, something that should be avoided at all costs. But failure is actually one of the greatest teachers you can have. When you fail, you are given an opportunity to learn. You are shown what doesn't work, and this insight can be used to improve and adapt. Failure teaches you resilience and persistence. It teaches you not to give up after one setback, but to keep going, to keep trying, and to keep learning from your mistakes. Without failure, growth would be stunted. It is through failure that we gain the most profound lessons about ourselves and the world around us. Self-growth also involves cultivating a mindset of continuous learning. This doesn't necessarily mean going back to school or reading countless self-help books, although those things can be valuable. It means approaching life with curiosity, asking questions, seeking knowledge, and being open to new perspectives. Every interaction, every experience, and every challenge holds a lesson if you are open to seeing it. The more you embrace learning, the more you realize how much you have yet to discover about yourself and the world. A mindset of growth encourages you to keep seeking, keep asking, and keep evolving. Another important aspect of self-growth is developing emotional intelligence. It's one thing to understand the mechanics of the world around you, but emotional intelligence allows you to navigate your inner world with wisdom and grace. It involves understanding and managing your emotions, being aware of how your feelings impact your actions, and developing empathy for others. Emotional intelligence allows you to form healthier relationships, make better decisions, and respond to situations with maturity and clarity. It's not about suppressing emotions, but learning to channel them in constructive ways. When you develop emotional intelligence, you create the foundation for better self-awareness and deeper connections with others. Self-growth also requires self-compassion. Often, we are our own harshest critics. We hold ourselves to impossibly high standards. And when we fall short, we can be incredibly hard on ourselves. But growth isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself with kindness, especially during difficult times. It's recognizing that, just like everyone else, you are human and that you will make mistakes along the way. But those mistakes don't define you. What matters is how you choose to learn from them and how you choose to move forward. Self-compassion allows you to be gentle with yourself, to acknowledge your struggles without judgment, and to keep going even when things get tough. Throughout the journey of self-growth, one of the most important things to remember is that it is a deeply personal process. What works for one person may not work for another, and that's okay. Your path to growth is uniquely yours, and it will unfold in its own time and in its own way. It's not about comparing your journey to anyone else's or trying to measure up to an arbitrary standard. Growth is about becoming more in tune with who you are and what you need in order to live a fulfilled, meaningful life. As you continue on this path, you will find that self-growth isn't just about becoming a better person. It's about creating a life that reflects your true values, desires, and potential. It's about aligning your actions with your inner truth and being honest with yourself about what you want and need. It's about living a life that feels authentic, where you are not just existing, but thriving. It's a journey of self-discovery, of finding your strength, your resilience, and your capacity for change. And it's a journey that will continue because growth is a never-ending process, one that invites you to keep becoming, to keep evolving, and to keep embracing the best version of yourself. Letting go for peace is one of the most liberating things you can do in life. It involves the conscious decision to release the things, people, and situations that no longer serve your well-being and to prioritize your inner peace above all else. Often, we hold on to things because we feel a sense of duty, fear of the unknown, or even attachment to the comfort of familiarity. But holding on to things that cause us stress, pain, or anxiety only keeps us from experiencing the true sense of peace we all long for. It's essential to understand that letting go is not an act of weakness or giving up. It is an act of strength and self-care. One of the first things to recognize is that letting go is not always an immediate process. It can take time, and that's okay. Sometimes we find ourselves holding on to relationships, experiences, or situations that are no longer healthy for us because of the emotional bonds we've created. Whether it's a friendship that has turned toxic, a job that drains our energy, or past hurts that continue to haunt us, these things become part of our identity, making it hard to separate ourselves from them. The fear of change, the fear of what might happen if we let go, often keeps us stuck. But it's important to understand that by holding on, we are only limiting ourselves from experiencing the peace that we deserve. Letting go is about understanding that you are not defined by the people or situations around you. You are your own person, and your peace, happiness, and well-being are not dependent on anyone else's actions or behavior. When you let go, you stop letting the negativity of others control your emotions and your state of mind. You stop giving away your power to people or situations that do not align with your values and your needs. This means learning to say no to things that drain you, to stop people-pleasing, and to prioritize your own health and happiness. Letting go for peace also involves releasing the past. So often, we carry around the weight of past mistakes, regrets, and grudges. We replay past events over and over in our minds, wishing we had done things differently, or blaming ourselves for things that were beyond our control. But holding on to the past only keeps us from living in the present. It keeps us trapped in cycles of regret, resentment, and self-labor. The truth is, the past is gone, and there's nothing we can do to change it. What matters now is how we move forward, how we choose to live in this moment, and how we respond to the challenges life presents. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or excusing the things that have hurt us. It doesn't mean pretending that things didn't happen or that we don't feel pain. Rather, it's about releasing the hold that those experiences have over us. It's about giving ourselves permission to heal, to let go of anger or resentment, and to create space for new experiences. By letting go of the past, we free ourselves from the emotional baggage that weighs us down and create room for peace and healing to enter our lives. This doesn't happen overnight, and it's not a process without difficulty, but the result is worth the effort. Another important aspect of letting go for peace is learning to trust the process of life. Sometimes we hold on to situations, relationships, or dreams because we feel that if we let go, we are giving up on something that we've worked so hard for. But trust in the process means having faith that sometimes letting go is the only way forward. It means trusting that when you release something that no longer serves you, something better will come into your life in due time. Trusting the process doesn't mean passivity. It means actively choosing to believe that the universe or life has a way of guiding us toward the right people, opportunities, and experiences when we make space for them. In some cases, letting go might involve letting go of a specific outcome or expectation. It means accepting that you cannot control everything and that things will unfold in their own time. The desire for control is often a significant barrier to peace because we become fixated on how things should go rather than allowing them to naturally unfold. This attachment to outcomes creates stress, anxiety, and disappointment when things don't go as planned. But when we let go of rigid expectations and trust that things will work out as they are meant to, we find peace in knowing that we are not responsible for everything. Sometimes the best thing we can do is take a step back, let go, and trust the process. Letting go for peace also requires setting boundaries with people and situations that drain us. Boundaries are essential for maintaining our mental, emotional, and physical health. When we don't set clear boundaries, we risk giving too much of ourselves to others and depleting our own energy. We might find ourselves saying yes to things we don't want to do, spending time with people who don't uplift us, or staying in environments that make us feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Letting go means setting healthy boundaries and learning to say no when necessary. Teaching by example is one of the most powerful ways to inspire change in the world around you. In a society that is often focused on external validation, status, and authority, leading by example becomes a way to create meaningful, lasting impact. It's not about demanding or commanding others to follow your lead. It's about embodying the qualities you wish to see in others. Actions speak louder than words. And when you live your truth and stand by your values, you naturally influence others to do the same. Leading by example isn't always easy, but it is one of the most authentic and effective ways to create a ripple effect of positive change. When you teach by example, you start by holding yourself accountable to the standards you expect of others. If you want people to treat others with respect and kindness, then you must demonstrate that same respect and kindness in your own actions. If you want people to show empathy, understanding, and patience, you must practice those virtues in your own life. Leading by example isn't about perfection. It's about being genuine. It's about aligning your actions with your values and showing others what it looks like to live authentically. One of the core elements of teaching by example is integrity. Integrity means doing what is right even when no one is watching, and maintaining consistency between your words and your actions. When you live with integrity, you become a role model for others. People notice when you follow through on your commitments, when you keep your promises, and when you choose honesty over convenience. Integrity is contagious, and when others see you acting with integrity, they are more likely to adopt similar behaviors. It creates a culture of trust and respect where people feel safe and inspired to do the right thing, even when it's difficult. Teaching by example also involves leading with humility. Humility is not about downplaying your accomplishments or pretending you have no strengths. Instead, it's about recognizing that no one is above others and that every person has value. Humble leaders acknowledge their flaws and mistakes and are willing to learn from others. When you lead with humility, you create an environment where people feel comfortable being themselves and are more likely to contribute their ideas, creativity, and strengths. Humility invites collaboration and fosters a sense of community, making it easier for people to connect with one another and work together towards shared goals. When you teach by example, you also set the tone for how others should treat you and how they should treat one another. This is especially important in relationships, whether personal or professional. If you model respect, kindness, and understanding, you create an atmosphere where those qualities are valued and expected. People are more likely to treat you with the same level of respect and kindness that you show them. And this fosters an environment of mutual support and trust. By embodying the qualities you wish to see, you encourage others to adopt them as well. It's also important to recognize that teaching by example isn't just about showing others how to behave. It's about showing them how to respond to challenges, adversity, and setbacks. Life is full of ups and downs, and how we navigate those challenges speaks volumes about who we are. When you face adversity with resilience, optimism, and grace, you show others how to do the same. You teach them that setbacks are not the end, but rather opportunities for growth and learning. By demonstrating how to respond to challenges with strength and courage, you inspire others to rise above their own difficulties and keep moving forward. Leading by example is also about showing compassion for yourself and for others. It's easy to be hard on ourselves, especially when things don't go as planned or when we make mistakes. But when you demonstrate self-compassion, you teach others to be kinder to themselves as well. Self-compassion allows you to acknowledge your flaws and imperfections without judgment, and to treat yourself with the same care and understanding you would offer to a loved one. By modeling self-compassion, you create an environment where others feel empowered to be kind to themselves, to learn from their mistakes, and to continue growing. One of the most powerful aspects of teaching by example is that it can have a far-reaching impact. You may never know the full extent of the influence you have on others. By living in alignment with your values and leading with authenticity, you inspire others to do the same. The ripple effect can spread beyond your immediate circle, touching the lives of people you may never meet. When you show up as your best self, you give others permission to do the same. Your example can create a chain reaction of positive change that reaches people in ways you may never fully understand. Leading by example also means being consistent. It's easy to act in alignment with your values when things are going well, but true leadership is demonstrated during times of hardship or uncertainty. When the pressure is on, do you remain calm and composed, or do you succumb to stress and frustration? When faced with difficult decisions, do you stay true to your principles, or do you make compromises? People are watching. And how you respond in challenging moments speaks volumes about your character. By remaining consistent in your values and actions, you build trust with others, and they will be more likely to follow your lead. Teaching by example requires self-awareness. You need to know your own values, strengths, and areas for growth. When you are self-awareness, you can more effectively model the behaviors and qualities you want to cultivate in others. Self-awareness also allows you to recognize when you've fallen short and to take responsibility for your actions. This humility, coupled with a commitment to improvement, sets a powerful example for those around you. Teaching by example is about making an intentional choice to live a life of purpose. When you lead with intention, you demonstrate to others the importance of living a life that is meaningful, not just one that is comfortable or convenient. You show them that it is possible to live in alignment with your values and passions, and that pursuing a life of purpose can bring fulfillment, joy, and peace. When you lead by example, you inspire others to reflect on their own lives and to take steps toward creating a life that is authentic and true to who they are. Teaching by example is not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about showing others what it looks like to live with integrity, humility, compassion, and resilience. It's about demonstrating how to navigate life with grace and authenticity. By leading with your actions, you inspire others to live in alignment with their own values, and you create a ripple effect of positive change that has the power to transform lives. The importance of self-care cannot be overstated in today's fast-paced, demanding world. It often gets overlooked or minimized in the hustle to meet the expectations of others or to succeed in various areas of life. Yet, without prioritizing self-care, we risk burnout, mental exhaustion, and neglecting our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's about creating a balance between all the demands placed upon you and taking time to nourish and replenish yourself. It is the foundation that allows you to show up as your best self in every area of life. The concept of self-care is often misunderstood. People might think of it as something indulgent, like taking a bubble bath or going for a spa day. While those activities can indeed contribute to self-care, true self-care is much deeper. It's about attending to your body, mind, and soul in a holistic way. It's about ensuring you are in a place where you can give of yourself to others without feeling depleted or resentful. Self-care means acknowledging that you are worthy of taking time for yourself and that doing so is not selfish. It's essential for your long-term health and well-being. One of the most important aspects of self-care is learning to listen to your body. Our bodies are constantly sending us signals, whether it's fatigue, stress, aches, or even more subtle cues like feeling emotionally drained or overwhelmed. Often we push these signals aside in our quest to meet deadlines or responsibilities. However, ignoring the messages our bodies are trying to send us only leads to further strain and exhaustion. Self-care requires us to pay attention to those signals and act on them. If you're tired, rest. If you're feeling mentally overloaded, take a break and clear your mind. Listening to your body is an essential practice of self-care because it enables you to avoid burnout and take the necessary steps to recharge. Another crucial aspect of self-care is emotional well-being. Taking care of your emotional health is just as important as physical health. It's about understanding your emotions, processing them in healthy ways, and creating an environment where you can express yourself openly and honestly. For many, emotional self-care might involve seeking support from others, whether through friends, family, or professionals. It could mean setting aside time for journaling, meditation, or other practices that help you process and understand your feelings. Acknowledging your emotions without judgment and allowing yourself to experience them fully is an important part of self-care. Too often, we suppress our feelings, believing that we should always be positive or strong, but this can lead to emotional stagnation. By making space for your emotions and taking care of your mental health, you give yourself the tools to handle stress and difficult situations with resilience. In addition to physical and emotional care, self-care also involves nourishing your mind. This means taking time for activities that stimulate your intellect and expand your knowledge. It could be reading a book, engaging in a creative hobby, learning a new skill, or even spending time reflecting on your goals and aspirations. Intellectual self-care is about feeding your mind with ideas, experiences, and information that inspire you and contribute to your growth. By dedicating time to learning and expanding your mind, you create an environment where you can grow, challenge yourself, and discover new passions. It also helps to build confidence, as a stimulated mind fosters a sense of purpose and fulfillment. In the midst of everyday life, it can be easy to overlook the importance of social self-care. Relationships are an essential part of our lives, and they can either uplift or drain us. Building and nurturing positive relationships is key to maintaining a balanced and healthy life. This doesn't just mean surrounding yourself with people who make you feel good, but also investing in relationships that are supportive, compassionate, and empowering. Self-care involves setting boundaries with people who bring negativity into your life and prioritizing time with those who support and encourage you. It means finding a community where you can truly be yourself, where you can express vulnerability, and where you can offer your support to others in return. Setting boundaries is often one of the most challenging parts of self-care. For many people, there is often a tendency to please others, to say yes when you really want to say no, or to overcommit yourself in an attempt to be helpful. However, setting boundaries is one of the most important aspects of self-care. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and emotional resources are finite. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you set boundaries, you are giving yourself permission to say no when necessary and to protect your time and energy from being drained by situations or people that do not align with your well-being. Learning to say no is a form of self-respect, and it allows you to conserve your resources for the things and people that truly matter. A vital component of self-care is also the practice of self-compassion. We are often our own harshest critics, judging ourselves for every perceived mistake or flaw. However, self-compassion is about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend in times of difficulty.